Can you tell us what's going on, and are we going to be all right?
You live in a miraculous time, and you are the creative force. It's how you think, how you speak, and how you feel. The quantum field is always working on your behalf. It surrounds you just like electricity. We've been acting out of particular belief systems for thousands of years, and that's all changing now by us. We're changing our brains, changing our DNA. What you all can recognize is repetitive patterns in your life that are unfulfilling. And what that tells you is,
are you ready to shine? Shine bright. Woo-hoo! Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to hear from the Archangels and know what's really going on, and if we're going to make it through and be better than all right, then do we have the Ask Theo Unconditional Love show for you. Today, I'll be speaking with Sheila Gillette, the best-selling author and channel of THEO, the 12 Archangels, and her newest book, The Art of Relationship. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about our physical and spiritual evolution and relationship, what's happening on planet Earth, how we're shifting dimensions, and why we're here now. So welcome back to the show, Sheila. Are you ready to shine?
I am, Michael. It's so good to be here with you and your audience. I always love our conversations.
And I love our conversations too. And I was making notes before the show and I said, we're just talking shop as two friends. So I'm going to have the notes, but I'm happy to throw them away because it's just so much fun talking with you. I will, however, go to our first question and see where we get from there. Before we dive right into things, Sheila, THEO mentioned this is a very pivotal, powerful year for all of us, moving into a higher state of consciousness. Can you tell us what's going on, and are we going to be all right?
We're going to be all right. You know, THEO's been talking about this for 5 decades. They spoke about it first in my first book, The Fifth Dimension Channels to a New Reality, about the time we're living in now. And all of this chaos, there will come order, and it'll come through us, coming into a greater sense of ourselves and realizing that life is happening through us, for us, as us, not to us. And that we are the creators of the events externally. So when we realize that, take it to heart, and we begin to make the changes in our belief systems that are untrue about ourselves. You know, we've been acting out of particular belief systems for thousands of years of generational patterning, and that's all changing now by us. We are the change agents in this process of realizing how to change the script, how to rewrite that script, and to realize the powerful spiritual beings that we are having a human experience.
Thank you. 2 questions I believe I can link that come right out of this. First, not that you have a crystal ball and we're shifting dimensions, we're shifting realities, but are you told approximately when there will be more order, and how do we feel or know or anchor in that we're coming into our power when it feels so much the opposite at this time?
Feels the opposite because we're so used to giving our power away and our thoughts away, really. THEO said the other day, be your own counsel. Go on the inner. Ask the question, is this true? We all can validate truth in our lives by how it feels viscerally in our bodies. We have a truth barometer. And so it's to have some critical thinking, to question, because we have that authority in us to know. And so I think as we go forward, rather than taking opinions of others as our own, we can then take in information and really decipher it, ask that question, are these things true? And come to a conclusion that is ours, that we're not acting out of the voice of others. And that's an old paradigm too, because it's safe. It's been a safe place to be, to conform. But we're asked in this fifth dimensionary energy not to be conformists, but to be creators of a new world we're living in.
Okay, let's play with this for a second. And forgive me if I devil's advocate, because I'm with you on this. We're entering an age, we've come off of the age in the internet of the information age and entering what I am calling, I'm sure others are too, the disinformation age. There is no way to be able to discern on a conscious level what's real, what's not, what's an actual photo, what's not, what's a video, what's not, who said this, who said that. So we do get to check in on the inside. However, we've been pumped up, not with loads of supplements, but we've been pumped up with loads of fear. How do we strip away the fear? Because if you say feel into it and our nervous system is in a pace of fight or flight, then we're going to read something that may be false and we're going to think, oh my God, I better run for the hills. How do we get back into that centered space so that we can hear from our heart?
Take care of ourselves. Take critical self-care, meditation, exercise, good nutrition, sleep. And what's important is when we get in that state, we're believing in something that really isn't happening. It's all words. It's to the fear-based dialogue. What if something bad's going to really happen and the boogeyman's going to get you? Has the boogeyman gotten you yet? No. So it's just a perception of what if. So if you can dial that noise back and go, what if something great is going to happen? Instead of stepping into that vision of fear, the lion's going to eat you when you come out of the cave. That was a long time, thousands of years ago. The lion's not there to eat you. So flip it. You have the power of your own thoughts and the power and the authority to go, wait a minute, that's old thinking. Pause that and go, what if something great's going to happen? And what is the great thing you want to happen? Being the great creator that you are, you have the power of the universal energy at your disposal. And why we know this is we have what we have because of our mindset, of our thoughts, our words. Because the law of attraction, the energy of the quantum field is always working on our behalf. And it doesn't discern if it's good, great, or not so much. But it's how we think, how we speak, and what we believe. So, Wayne Dyer said, "You'll see it when you'll see it when you believe it," and that's never been more true. Because what Theo says in the law of attraction and manifestation is the most important quality of that is belief. Knowing that you deserve it, you believe you deserve it, and you open yourself to receive it. And why won't you receive it? It's out of beliefs you don't deserve it. So you have to do that inner work inside to open yourself to all the great things that can be manifested, and you can live the life you would love.
Thank you. Theo's been talking a lot about humanity upgrading, humanity shifting to a higher level of consciousness. If we're talking, though, about each of us, and this is the same teachings I've been doing, I'm just, right now, I keep apologizing in my newsletter to people because I'm like, you've got to get it. You're the creator. You're the creator. You're focusing on this externalities. We get to, you're the creator. You're the creator. You're the creator. And at the same time, we look around us and we say, well, if we're the creator, how did we get into this mess? And am I really creating my way out of it? Are we really upgrading to a higher dimension, or am I stuck in this place and this land, this bizarro world of fear right now?
Only stuck if you believe in it. It's all up here and in here. And if we stop for a minute and know, Eleanor Roosevelt had a great quote. She said, all the water in the oceans cannot drown you unless you let it in. It's the truth with chaos. It can do nothing to you unless you let it in. And yes, we're all empathetic. There's an atmosphere of fear that we're being bombarded by. And so we have to do the radical self-care to hold that in abeyance, to hold it out here rather than in here. But I always, in the more gratitude is a huge part of not letting it in. It has to be, well, Theo talked about this, like I said, 5 decades ago. They said there would be this chaos. I'm paraphrasing. But out of this chaos will come order, and it's necessary for this new world that is being birthed through us now. And so all the foundations that we've been living by for centuries, thousands of years, are dissolving. And so it's bringing up all this old stuff. It's old stuff that we're having to navigate through to bring the new. It's like pumping a well of water. When you start pumping it, what comes out first? The dirty water, the rakish water. It's not so good, but you keep pumping it, and then it's fresh flowing. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're pumping that well of water, and we got this junk, the guck out. And now we can get the fresh water.
Based on what Theo said, and he talked about, the archangels talked about 5 decades, we'd be facing this chaos. How long of a period of chaos do you know? And are we in a particle accelerator of transformation, would you say right now?
The latter, the particle of acceleration, absolutely. If you look at what's been going on in our world, in our lives, in the past 50 years, I'm telling you, this is as long as I've been doing my work, 5 decades. And I've seen these waves of change. We didn't have home computers then. We did not have the internet. We did not have cell phones. We did, and that's commonplace. We take that for granted. Look how quickly that's become part of our lexicon, part of our life. And what we do in a minute, something will be given us and it becomes part of the zeitgeist. It becomes part of our reality because we quickly absorb now because it's a requirement to be here. It's kind of like we're changing our computer. When you get an upgraded system, we're getting an upgraded system in our bodies and in our minds. We're laying new neural pathways so that we can have a broader vision, a broader understanding, and greater creativity. And that's just a part of this evolution we're a part of.
What does that mean? Thank you. What does that mean as far as 5th dimensional energy and people's experiences and perceptions and how that's all changing right now?
It's all part of the 5th dimensionary energy, because 5th dimension or density energy is we're living in a new vector of time. Now, if you work with physical science, physicists, they'll speak in this language. And what's happening is that, the 3rd, 4th dimensions are all in a particular vector of time, the linear time essence, more appropriately. And we've moved out of that into a new vector of time, which is much broader innovations, much broader understanding, much clarity of science, and the new shift of our brain and consciousness that we can perceive. So it's an exciting time to be alive now. Theo says it's magnificent.
What's most exciting to you right now about this time?
Oh, well, it's exhausting. I understand that. I got exhausted with it. I did. We had a session today in our company, a webinar, and we were talking just about all of this that's going on in the world. And Michael, I didn't realize how much I had absorbed because I'm an empath. All of us probably on listening to this are empaths because we as humans are, and we're refined even more. So we're absorbing all that energy. We take it on. And I've got to tell you, after the election here in the United States, and there was so much energy, and there's been permeating the atmosphere, whether you were happy or sad, there was just all of this energy. And you thought, what's going on with me? I was exhausted. And I thought I was handling it really well, but I had taken it in, and my body, it was like having a great exhale. Okay, now it's done. There's not this anticipation, not this, what is it going to be? Now we know. And I thought, isn't this interesting? So what do we need to do with that? We need to take care of ourselves. Michael, you're a beautiful example of that. I mean, you get knocked down, you stand up and get better. I mean, that's what we all need
to do it without the knockdown anymore.
But we need to see you as an example too. I mean, we have the capability of doing that. We've just let all that ocean water in. We've let that chaos in, and we just need to release it. And it's a mindset too, as you know, Michael. I know you teach this, and we're the change agents, all of us.
It begets a couple questions. Then I want to go to Theo. The first question based on this, and it was what I was joking about tongue in cheek just a second ago, is Theo suggesting we will reach a level of consciousness where we no longer need to learn by having ourselves backed into a corner, or to learn through pain, or to learn through trauma? Is there a level that we will reach where we don't need that, which is, I guess, baked into the physicality, or certainly baked into what we've been taught in the physicality? Will we be able to let that go?
What Theo has taught us is challenge is only the curriculum of life. And what's changing is our perception of it. It can either be hard or easy. And we have the ability to see it through different lenses. And so if we perceive that challenge is just a great opportunity for expansion, it doesn't need to be hard. You can be curious about it. You can, well, for me in my life, what I think of is if a challenge comes, and in the past, I've been an avoider, just like we all have been, like, no, not this. When I learned to embrace it rather than resist it, it was easy. And when I learned at one moment in time, when I went, okay, if this is for me to learn, I'm going to squeeze every drop out of it, because I'm not getting away from it. So I might as well get what I've come to get. And what I've noticed since then, with that kind of mindset, ease and grace.
Okay, I'm going to ask a really personal question here that I have my belief on, and I'm hoping you have a different one. I have my mom and dad who are in their 80s, and they're starting to have some memory challenges. My dad is very willing. I can't believe I'm saying this publicly, but hey, what the heck? My dad is very willing to go get himself tested. My mom, and I love her very dearly, wants nothing to do with it. The ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know about it. Is there a way we can help people this time to understand that embracing, or where is it? Here's my snow globe. We take our challenges and we say, oh no, there's something to be afraid of inside. Oh, wait, I see a shark. But then I realize the shark is smiling. Is there a way to help them to embrace it, or is it totally, there's really nothing we can do?
To each of us, it will be a different process, I'm sure, just like your father and your mother. And so, it's like people that are losing their hearing often resist having their hearing checked. you know, oh, my hearing's just fine, kind of thing. Anything, that happens to us that isn't perfection or what we're used to as we're young, it's kind of like, oh no, don't say that's going to happen to me, kind of thing. I applaud your father because there might be something that can help um, delay or even the severity of it, because they're doing so much research now, and that's the way I would talk to your mother about it. But I certainly get avoidance in that circumstance, because none of us want to have memory problems, and we all do. It's even when we're young, we forget names and different things, but in those moments, I think it comes from a greater fear that it's going to happen too.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, last question I have before we go to Theo, which is, you mentioned that these times are changing. Theo has talked about the veils thinning, and you've mentioned before about it being easier to access past lives. How have you been changing? What insights have you gained from looking at past lives, particularly in Atlantis, and how have these past lives been informing your present life?
Well, what's interesting for me, Michael, about that is when I've had some past life memories, recalls, um, it's usually been just a little snapshot of something, of an event or a moment that is an answer to a question I have in my life now of why am I with this person, or why am I having this challenge, or whatever it might be. And there's something in my multidimensional beingness that could answer that question, because we talked about past lives in the sense of linear time. And if we, time's another construct that we could talk about probably for a long time. But
And I get to ask Thea about it, so go for it.
Yeah, so we're in this multidimensionality of who we are, because actually,
what does that mean?
It means everything that we've been. And people talk about Akashic records. Okay, we could use that as the conversation. But everything we've been, all that we are as a soul, and our soul's much bigger than this physical existence, this body. And so the soul contains all that information. What we're doing is tapping into that soul vibration for an answer to a question. That's the way I perceive it. You could call it the Akashic record. You could call it past life. You could give it any name you want, but it's an energy vibration, and everything's vibration and frequency and dimension. So we're connected to all. There are 12 dimensions about the earth as well. We are now experiencing the fifth, which is this tremendous shift that's happening in our awareness and consciousness that THEO says never has happened before on this planet. And we have access to all 12 of those dimensions, 6 of which we'll experience physically in our bodies and in our consciousness, in our brains, let's say. But we're changing our brains. We're changing neural pathways in our mind. We're changing our DNA. And we do this integration into these higher dimensional frequencies. So what they tell us is our soul is a constant vibrational frequency, is unique to us individually, but we're connected to all vibration and frequency in all time. Time is just this construct of living and navigating a life where we have appointments and all of those things. So with this refinement, we have a greater awareness of all that and can tap into it.
Beautiful. I'm picturing, they love giving me images. And so I'm picturing a symphony, and each of us is playing our own instrument, is playing our own note. We are part of a giant symphony, but it's actually a symphony of all time. And if we don't see it linearly, it actually gets quite confusing. Years ago, I was with a shaman in a private ceremony, and he said, "Do you want to go on the full shaman journey?" And I had way too much ego about it. Yeah, sure. Give me the works. Oh, God, no. And I experienced, heard, felt everything, all dimensions, as far as I know, at the same moment, which was way too much for me to handle. It was not a pleasant experience, to say the least. But linear time gives us the ability to pick and choose which time on the dial we wish to perceive, which makes it easier when we're in this physicality.
Yeah, THEO often gives us the image that the soul is like a diamond with many facets, and that what gives the diamond its brilliance, its sparkle, are the facets and the light shining through those facets, refracting off of the facet. So it doesn't hit all of them, but it hits some. And in our soul, it's not that we need to know all that time. It's just what's influential now. So we'll be given that. That's what's happened in my life when I've had any previous incarnations, let's say, previous human experiences. If I need to know something, I'll get that little snapshot for the answer I'm looking for.
That makes sense. So, would you mind channeling THEO now? First off, share exactly who or what is THEO, and then would you mind channeling for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. THEO is 12 archangels, collectively known by the name THEO. And when they first came through, they gave me that information and they said, we will not identify singularly because there would be too much attention paid to the speaker than the information. And so that they would only identify in the collective as THEO.
Beautiful.
And so I'll call them in, and there's one voice. It's an altered voice of my vocal cords. And then I'll talk to you after.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Here we go. It is the beginning, is it not?
Thank you. Welcome. It's a brilliant question. Is it the beginning? Is humanity shifting? Are we at a beginning point? And if so, how do we know that?
We are appreciative of the opportunity to serve. And how you would know that with each breath, it is the beginning, isn't it? For each morning upon arising, it is the beginning of a new day, 24 hours of creativity through you. So it is the beginning of each creation.
Thank you. Is there a way to tell humanity is shifting right now? And is there evidence that you can provide us to let us know, particularly at this time where things feel so uncomfortable being an energetic being in a human body?
Where do you learn most? In your uncomfortability, isn't it? When things are easy, unchallenged, there truly is no growth, and that's what you've come for. But that's what The earth is requiring of each species upon this planet. Now, the planet's going to be here longer than you are in this particular body. But it is to understand how you treat the planet and each other is changing through how you treat yourself. For each is but a reflection of you. It is that inner process of movement and growth and releasing beliefs about the self that are simply just untrue. For each of you is a magnificent spiritual soul having a human experience in this moment. And that's what one has chosen. It has not been chosen for you, but by you to be here now. And it's quite exquisite an opportunity.
Thank you. You said that there are beliefs about ourselves that are untrue. It'd probably be longer than this show to go through all of them. But what are some of the most important ones to understand so that we can let them go once and for all?
What you all can recognize is repetitive patterns in your life that are unfulfilling. And what that tells you is that the belief you're holding is that you're not worthy of a life well lived or a life you would love living. That there is a belief of unworth, which is untrue. And as you move into the recognition of where those beliefs began or were created or adopted, then you can resolve them by the adult self of you, loving those parts of self forward to the present time, because those fragmented aspects that hold those beliefs are frozen in that moment. And with love will be defrosted and brought forward to the present, not continually living out the pattern.
Thank you. If we're talking about multidimensionality and boy, I have a hard time saying that, multidimensional beingness, what is unconditional love? How do we cultivate that love toward ourselves and toward everyone else again during this time? Because at this time, you've got half of the people not throwing unconditional love one direction and almost half not throwing it the other.
Of course, and that's just a reflection of how they feel about themselves. And there have been those who have promoted and manipulated the thinking in those minds that one needs to be protected of the other. It has been very divisive. And so those are just belief systems based in fear. And fear and faith ask the same of you, to believe in something that is unseen and often untrue. And so it is in this process of asking the self-critical questions of truth in those beliefs that have been adopted outside the self, that are not one's own. And so, yes, there's many things that are being given in disinformation that is hard to discern truth. Most would say, if you're only doing it from an intellectual basis and external. But if you take that in and ask on the inner, is this true? You have a visceral response. Your body tells you you are a sentient being. The body has all this sensory perceptivity. And so when truth is spoken to you and through you, by you, you have this visceral response. Some feel a shiver, a chill, some feel a flutter in their gut, whatever it is that one registers as, this is truth. Use that barometer. Use that knowing. That is your soul speaking to you, your truth.
Thank you. On that note, earlier you mentioned our relationships are changing. Our relationship with the planet is changing. Will the planet be all right? When we ask ourselves that question, I know for many, there are seeds, to say the least, of self-doubt in there.
That's true. Self-doubt. It's a non-trusting of the self, isn't it? But understand that that's an intellectual process. What we're asking you to do is the self is living in the heart, the soul centered. So living from the heart to the head rather than the head to the heart. For this, the intellect will always want to remain in control, but the truth barometer, your soul resides there and speaks your truth and draws perfectly to you appropriate growth opportunities. But in this, when you only live in the intellect, there's no room for the intuitive, there's no room for connection in the universal field, there's no room for guidance. Yes?
Is this what it means to be a fifth dimensional being or a fifth dimensional human? Is to be living from the heart first?
Yes.
And then what is, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but is the sixth dimension something that we're going to be able to access? Sheila was mentioning we can access all 12 dimensions. Is it important to be accessing one more dimension or just be here, which is magnificent, in the fifth dimension now?
Be in the fifth dimension now. You're living into the sixth. And it's not rushing forward. Enjoy now. Yes? But understand this, the fifth is the recognition of the masters that you are. And the sixth is living from that fully.
Thank you. So then what is, and Sheila was talking about this briefly earlier, what is the soul note and what is the importance of understanding that and how it connects us to this multidimensionality?
The soul note is the vibrational frequency of your soul that is a constant. And it registers in your voice. That's why we call it the note, but it is actually your soul's frequency. And so that can be recognized. That's how authorities identify from a recording person more than their fingertip or whatever else might be discovered, DNA. The soul note is unique, constant, and eternal. Yes?
Thank you. Going from the soul note outside of the studio, I have my family and extended family having a beautiful dinner with my 2.5-year-old daughter. What can you tell us about how we get to educate educate our kids? Then we're going to go into how we work with our intuitive gifts ourselves. What do we do to educate our children to their heightened extrasensory perception or potential at this time?
Just let them know you believe them. Nobody has to tell them they have it. They'll express it. But in the past, there would be those uncomfortable with that expression that would say, you can't do that. And so a child, because of fear of abandonment, and that's the greater fear of survival, would stop doing whatever they're going to do for fear they would be thrown out of the family or left behind. So to encourage them to be who they are, to allow them their voice. And encouragement is just saying, yes, I believe you. Validating. Yes.
Thank you. And then how do we, as we're going into the fifth, as we're becoming to the sixth, where we're going to be living as the masters that we are, how do we reawaken or start to get back in touch with our intuitive abilities, with our intuitive gifts?
You're already doing it because they've always been there. But it's been in the belief that one didn't deserve what was perceived as a gift. But it's the most natural thing to have. When you embody in a human body, the gift of the body is all the sensory perception. The body itself is a receiver that is magnificently tuned for you to receive your connection to source, to guidance. It is the receiver, just like your musical instrument or your radio, your television has a receiver to receive all the vibrational frequencies and then let them out. Your body's the receiver of those vibrations, and then you participate with it. You give voice to it. Yes?
Thank you. Speaking of receiving, it feels like we're receiving tremendous energy, accelerated energy. It feels like we're in this TV show Star Trek, and all of a sudden they've hit warp speed and the stars are flying past us. How do we? I want to understand the concept of time and how that relates, and I want to understand all of this influx of energy and what we get to do with it at this time.
That's what you've come for. This is the adventure we speak about. And yes, there is an acceleration energetically, that a greater opening is now, and that you're participating within it. You are a participant and a teacher, a way shower in this new way of being. For those who have the awareness of what's happening, can give confidence and support to those who are unsure.
Thank you. So is everybody listening to this right now a creator, a master, and while we are all students, a teacher as well?
Yes. Each is a teacher and a student. And one is not greater than another. How far up the ladder do you need to be to assist somebody else up? Just one rung. Yes?
Thank you. What can you tell us about time? And is time, we're talking about the shift that we're in, is time itself shifting or changing at this, forgive me, time?
Yes, as we spoke, you're in a new vector of time in the fifth dimension. And it could only be spoken of in the sense of physical or physics, if you would. And that language is not something that is universal for all to understand. It's quite a different language. So what we would say is, yes, you're in a different time. And the old patterns that have been passed along generationally for thousands of years no longer work. And those of you here now, such as yourself, are being the bridge to this new time. And the young ones that are coming forward are to express it fully. So that's why you're seeing new humans, let's say, very bright, not adhering to the norms, if you would, of the old construct. And there are those such as yourself and others that are now here to be that bridge, allowing them to be all they can be without labels, restrictions. Yes, there's certain need for behavioral interactions of kindness and love, yes, but to allow them their brilliance, their genius to be expressed. And so that's what you're seeing of all these structures dissolving. The educational systems needing different ways to address these new beings. For they're beyond in intellect the old form.
So I have a friend who was diagnosed many years ago with schizophrenia and was put on medicine to help him stay in, I'm going to say in my language, one dimensionality at a time. Whether we're looking at schizophrenia, where we're looking at depression, whether we're looking at anxiety, where we're looking at autism, or almost any of the things in the DSM, I don't know if it's a 6 manual or wherever we're at, and the diagnosis, are these diagnoses on many levels us being the masters that we are and not knowing how to work with it in this dimensionality? And what do we do with that?
Yes, so there's much learning being done around that. That is true. And there's much learning about how to treat the physical form. Yes, such as diet, exercise, sleep, hydration, extremely important. But when there is a fine-tuned physicality, such as your friend, there was a bit of imbalance in the chemical structures that were in the brain. And so one did not know how to assist him other than the dulling of the impulses. And the labeling is a disservice to anyone, as you've spoken of. The labeling should not be. However, in this circumstance, what needed to be developed is how to balance that chemistry. And it had to be a natural way of balancing the chemistry of the brain. Yes, for an example, a diabetic, if the pancreas is not functioning and producing insulin, what was found is one could supplement insulin to have that very important organ function properly. Now they have found with the brain the different ways the body produces the endorphins, serotonin, all of the things necessary for a well-being, and are developing these supplementations to assist if there's a lack of functionality or imbalance. For an example, one could be depressed and they have low serotonin. Their body is not producing enough serotonin on its own. So there's a production of serotonin lifters. It's like your automobile battery. If it's low, you get another battery, attach them, and one gives the other more the energy to start working. That's what a serotonin lifter would do. Jumpstart is the word. The body producing its own if it can. So you'll see more and more of this that will balance the brain and give more comfortability in those circumstances.
Thank you. Would you mind? I want to go to autism in a minute, but would you mind, since we're talking about depression, which is the number one thing medicated for in the US, and then the second one is hypothyroid. Is there anything you can share about that at the moment?
Some of the thyroid difficulties are from the food and the energy vibrations on the planet, but definitely as the foods are changed. As you know, in certain parts of your world, there's longevity and there's not illness. And so it is to pay attention to that in the sense of foodstuffs. That being said, you asked about thyroid. That can be worked with. The other, speak again.
Autism. What can you tell us about children with autism and helping them to bring forward their magnificent gifts, whatever that means.
So there are different spectrums of this, and that's an umbrella that many are put under, unfortunately. Some are very high functioning, high frequency individuals and very intellectually adept. And others are not. And ultimately, it seems like there is more, but there's always been this upon this planet. It's just more noticed now as there is this evolution and study. But in this, again, just like your friend, it's functionality and balance of the physicality energetically. So those with autism, there will be certain supplementations that can be very good. If there are some sensitivities to particular foodstuffs that could be exasperating it, then that will be known as well. But in these natural ways, there can come to balance. But no, highly stimulated in the nervous system. And so it's important there's supplementation to support the nervous system and the adrenal system.
Thank you. Going back to time, the timelines, and realities, and the mind, how do people, we're coming off of this election, how do people concentrate on new timelines at this time rather than get caught up in mass political distraction? And how do we tune to the highest potentiality, whatever that may be, or the highest level timeline for ourselves?
Well, judging there's no time, that's a difficult answer, isn't there? Because time is all about the individual. How long will it take? How long will it take you to come into a different perception? It's all from the inner to the outer. And it's not life living to you, it's from you, as you, and for you. No one is victimized here, even though they speak of being victims of this or that. You're all volunteers. You all said yes to this life. And as these perceptions broaden and are more understood, then that's when your timeline changes.
Thank you. Is there anything you can tell us about 2025 or about the years ahead that you see coming, or that'd be important for us to understand?
We see they're magnificent. Don't be afraid. Again, fear and faith asks the same of you. Be faithful. For worrying is praying for what you don't want. So look with vision of what you do want. What is the life you want to live? Who are you in that life, more importantly? And that will be the key to what your future will be.
Thank you. On that note, is there anything you can tell us about intellectual or technological, not intellectual, scientific innovations, technological advances? Everybody's talking AI. Is there anything that you see emerging or that's important? Because you 50 years ago, we didn't have the computer. Everything has changed. What's coming our way and what's important?
So understand this, there will always be innovation because you're creators. And it's time for these greater creations in this fifth dimensionary energy. So we'll say fear it not. Because before the home computer, that was feared, wasn't it? The internet was feared. The cell phone was feared. With proper usage, all these things are to your advantage. And to AI, it's not going to take over the human experience. It will not. Don't fear that. It's a useful tool to be used in the expansion of consciousness and awareness and intelligence. It's just how you use it. And it's like anything else, mindful, good intent. It's not here to harm you, but to expand you. And so there will be its own regulation. Truly, there will be. And those who are working within it wish you to fear it not as well, because of its ability in many areas of life itself to improve it. The minds that thought this up are getting the downloads universally of this expansion for your planet. So you could say source is driving this, source, God, force, however you wish to perceive it as, is giving you these gifts through these innovators, through these oracles, through these beings. Science is an art, and the arts and the sciences will be the ones that are the leaders of your future.
Thank you. What can we do at this time to plug in or to raise our vibrational frequency on a daily basis?
All that critical self-care. But first of all, love the self and others as the self.
Thank you. And then, is there a way, we're talking about the word love, it keeps coming up here. Is there a way to achieve a permanent state of unconditional love while here on earth?
Yes, because it's a state of being. It's a state of being calm. And that is achieved through self-love, not narcissism or self-absorption or all those personality disorders, but it's a true sense of self, relinquishing old beliefs, again, about the self that are untrue.
Thank you. I want to go just a couple last questions, talking about miracles and plugging in or tuning into the quantum field. What can you tell us about aligning with the quantum field and making empowered decisions and being able to bring, manifesting our desires or creating what appear to be miracles in our lives?
You live at a miraculous time, and you are the creative force. So it's how you think, how you speak, and how you feel. Feelings are extremely important. Emotions are extremely important. In that sense of vision, step into the vision that you desire. Feel how it feels to be that person who is, has, does. Feel that feeling, and the quantum field aligns with it to make it so. The quantum field is always working on your behalf. It surrounds you just like electricity. It's always there. And it doesn't discern if you're admonishing yourself and being negative to the self and creating negative challenges, or if you're creating positive experiences in your life. It doesn't discern the good or bad. It just aligns with the energy. And everything has energy to it. So that's why we said worrying is praying for what you want. Giving the quantum field that worry is just saying, create this for me. So change your minds and change your thoughts and words. Yes?
Thank you. And then any last words or final message that you want to give people to embrace their potentiality as we're entering this fifth dimension, as we're heading toward this sixth?
Say yes to life. Don't be afraid of it. You've chosen to be here now, and a good choice you made. For this is a time of grand expansion you've chosen to be a part of. Be it with love. Be that emissary of love for self and others, and let that radiate from you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You are complete with your asking.
Yes.
God's love unto you. Good day.
Thank you.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
How are you, Sheila?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks.
This was beautiful. I have just a few very simple-ish questions, but this was so beautiful, and I'm glowing. The energy is really, really, really special. How would you say at this time of just consciousness expanding, shifting dimensions, everything going on, and I believe for our greatest good, and through us, for us, not to us, how do we stay grounded in the now, here and now, and help and allow ourselves to evolve?
You know, it's changing. It's just really changing our minds. You know, when we find ourselves going down that rabbit hole, and we all do, jump out. In that moment, when you're finding yourself, change your thinking. You know, you can change if it's just one thought of what if something great's going to happen today, as opposed to what if something awful. You know, we have a practice here in our home that before we get out of bed in the morning, we're grateful. We do our gratitudes. And if it's being grateful for one thing in your life, and then being proud of yourself for one thing in your life before you even get out of bed, that starts the day in a whole different perception. But if you think about when we get in those contractive thoughts, what happens to our body? It folds in, it just contracts. But when you're in gratitude, it opens. And when you're in gratitude, you're receptive to all those good things that you want. And so if you start the day like that, you can have the power of that creation in the way you want to create the day to be.
Thank you. How does it get any better than this? And I have gratitude. I'm grateful for your being on the show. And I love the concept of waking up. I'm gonna give you the credit for this, of waking up not just with gratitude, but saying, what can go right today?
Yeah. I always, well, you know, you used the word magic earlier in our conversation. I love that word. I love magic. So I use that in my morning. What kind of magic is there going to be today? Because I'm all, you know, and it's all around us. If we just keep our eyes and ears open, we'll know. And it makes it fun. My husband and I were just in sacred England and Scotland, and we went to them. We went all over, but we went to Glastonbury, and we went to the Chalice Well, which is the historic place where the divas and the fairies are in the gardens. And
How did it feel?
oh, it was just the most magical experience. And you can feel the energy. You could feel the energy of all the flora and fauna. And you know, they talk about magic there all the time. And so it was a place, and for me it was like heaven. Okay, they're speaking my language. I'll just stay here for a while. But it's a very, very sweet energy. And, when I think of magic now, I think of that place because it felt so magical in all of our sensitivities and abilities. And my husband had a really wonderful magical experience there that he said, I didn't think this really was true. And he had this wonderful expanded experience. So, it's all around us if we let it in. That's just one place, but it's everywhere.
And I imagine that if you, and I know for your husband, if you go back there, you go back to that experience, you go back to that place and go back to that feeling, that unlocks the door. That's the resonant frequency of the key that unlocks the door to even more magic.
Exactly. Exactly. And to hear somebody say, I didn't think this stuff was real. I didn't think this stuff was true. But we know when we have our own personal experience, that's where it gets confirmed. We may believe it in our intellect, but have no experience. That's another conversation. But when we have an experience that is undeniable to us, to our own being, then we'll look more for it, right? We'll just be open to more of that in our lives because we believe it.
My guess is, and then I want to go to where people can find your work, your courses, everything. And I haven't asked about, I know people are going to go, why don't you ask about her husband? It's his experience. So I'm not asking about that. But my guess is we have all at some point had an experience. It's just that if we weren't ready, or if our family or our culture or our tribe wasn't ready, we poo-pooed it and brushed it away and may not even consciously remember it. But those are the keys that unlock our heart and do unlock the magic. And they're inside of each and every one of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's a time we're living into that will be magic all the time for each and every one of us, because that's our normal. We often say in our community, in our work, make the extraordinary your ordinary.
I just keep hearing in my head, KMGC, all magic all the time.
Yes. Like that.
So where can people go to find the extraordinary and find everything you have to offer, Sheila?
At asktheo.com. Thank you for asking. Everything's there at asktheo.com. All our mentoring programs. We have hours of Theo information there. And if people come and they just put in their, register their email, they'll get a recorded Theo meditation as a gift from us because their meditations are so powerful. And we have books and meditations and all kinds of yummy goodies there to expand our consciousness with Theo's guidance.
Yummy goodies. How does it get any better than this? Any last words you want to share, Sheila, before we let you go for yummy goodness for you and yummy goodness for all of us?
Well, I would just say, remember who you are. That's what Theo is here to share with us. Remember the magnificence of your soul. And Michael, I so appreciate you and being friends with you and being a peer, and that we're out doing this work together. I am so grateful for this opportunity, and thanks for your friendship.
It goes both ways. Giant hugs. And how does it get any? Oh, yeah.
You give Hannah Bear a big hug for me.
I will most certainly do this. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, discover you are extraordinary. You are the creator. You are the master. You are the magnificent. You are. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Another wow, wow, wow. This time the quieter wow, wow, wow. Because the energy was so beautiful. It was so powerful. It was so special. It was so sacred. It was so you. You are all that. You are the creator. You are the magnificent. You are leaping timelines. You are. And if you want to feel this energy on a daily basis, I've got 3 simple ways for you. First off, go to dailywoohoo.com, where I help you with an attunement by pure, I can't even speak now, pure vibrational goodness each and every day coming into your inbox. It's at dailywoohoo.com. Second, join a group of like-minded individuals raising ourselves up at this time, playing our instrument, playing our note at the highest level, and truly creating magic. It's the School of Mystics. We could certainly call it the School of Magic as well. We meet 4 Wednesdays each month, either live or recorded, plus clearings each and every month. Simply go to that link below. That's School of Mystics. And of course, if you want to learn how to channel, to hear from the archangels, to hear from your guides, to hear from loved ones on the other side of the veil, from your pets across the rainbow bridge, and certainly from your higher self, learn automatic writing, a super simple process to connect you with the other side. Automaticwriting.com, link down below as well. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so much. Keep on shining bright, you magnificent, wonderful, incredible creator, master of a person, actually of an energetic being, having energetic experience in human form, and above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Lots and lots and lots of love. I send you so much love.